Hello, this is Greg Smalley on Pod 366, a Weird Movies podcast. Joined today, as I often am, by Giles Edwards back from Montreal.
Yeah, so as you
Giles, they
can see,
haven't announced the winners of the Fantasia Festival yet, as far as I can tell.
I think I got something. I noticed that the Best Animation Public Award went to Ghost Cat on Zoo.
Oh, so
And
it's not on their main website, and I didn't get an email.
yeah, I got two emails, one in English and the first one in French. So I'll stall here a little bit while I.
While you do that, we probably should do a quick installment of David Lynch update, which is that I don't have a still or anything, but Mr. Lynch has announced that he has emphysema, which is not surprising at all considering how prodigious and public a smoker he was. And he's essentially homebound now. And so probably will not be directing again, although he did leave the option of directing remotely uh, up. So that's a sad bit of news and
Hmm.
sadly not especially surprising. He is old and, as we said, a long time smoker. The other bit of Lynch news, however, is that his album with Christabel dropped this week. I haven't listened to it yet, but I will probably start tomorrow with that.
Thanks. Okay, and I actually found the email. I hadn't deleted it, so it's right here. I'll do a quick rundown. Best international feature. Gold went to Bookworm, which I didn't see, and also I don't think my press badge would have let me in. Silver went to The Count of Monte Cristo, which was without a doubt the biggest budget thing at the festival. Bronze went to Rats, which was a nice, odd little quirky movie, so that'll be good for them. Animated feature. Gold went to Ghost Cat Anzu. Silver went to The Missing, which I skipped. And bronze went to Mononoke the movie, Phantom in the Rain.
Two movies you recommended in that
Yeah.
awards, the gold and
And
bronze there.
other than that, it gets into a bunch of titles, most of which I haven't seen, which suggests most of our viewers and listeners haven't either.
Well, they haven't seen any of the ones you've seen.
No, it depends. We might if we have some Korean or Japanese followers, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay, well, we also have a guest joining us later. We're just stalling for a while until we're joined by Case Esparros from Absence of Milk in the Mouths of the Lost, a micro-budget surrealist movie, which I can probably say for most people who see it will be like nothing they've ever seen before.
Yeah, it is like a few things I've seen before, but for the past 5 years or so, I've typically jumped on the lowest budget items on the menu you send out. So,
This is one of the lowest budgets, yes. So he will be fascinating to talk to when we get him on. However, we have in the meantime some news and releases to discuss. This is a late breaking piece of newsish, a newsish item about an older film. We have a still up, Giles. Would you care to describe it?
all right. Briefly for the foreground, two figures in matching outfits. They are standing atop a looks like a courtyard or square of a high medieval variety, ancient stone structures behind them with a neat little bridge and a little pathway with a sort of cupola pointed top for where you travel through. This pair is a fella, I'm gonna guess in his mid 20s, and I'm gonna say a young person slightly behind him. They've got a sort of stylized, hmm, It's like a hussar muscle shirt, I guess, with lots of gilded, knotted connection all the way up on the torso area. They're wearing sort of bandit style hats. The smaller one is wearing a bandit style mask. And there's either a cape or a skirted item going on for the leg covering. And it's sort of hard to tell. There's a bunch of sticks
Mm.
sort of coming out of the back area of the smaller figure who is also wearing a red mask, whereas the larger figure is open-faced.
An open-faced sandwich guy. And it is a still from The Fall. Was this in the original The Fall? I didn't see it.
I mean, possibly we have. It's been a while since I've seen it. Those two figures do show up together in a number of scenes, and there are always very actual but borderline fantastical looking backdrops throughout. So this I could see this possibly being a still, but my guess is it's a publicity photo.
Mm. Well, this is from, boy, I don't remember is it 1996, 19, late 90s sometime, right?
Yeah, let's
Um,
check the old
the reason that this
2006.
2006,
Yeah.
I was quite wrong. I thought this was before The Cell, but it's after The Cell. Um, the reason this is on the list is because director Tarsem Singh has restored this film, which was a bit difficult to see The Fall. It is on Apple TV. It is on out of print DVD. It is not on Blu-ray in the North American region. Um, and the old physical media is kind of expensive, so there's not a lot of ways to see it. So he has restored it. He's added in 2 minutes of previously deleted scenes that he says he regretted. One because of the character's haircut. He wanted to make sure the character's haircut was in the final cut, and I don't know why he would have deleted it, but too bad. But so he's restoring this. It's debuting at the Locarno Film Festival, which is running, probably begins today and runs through August 17th. So restoration is complete. I would expect there'll be some kind of physical media release and or a new streaming deal soon afterwards.
Yeah.
Probably 4K. Now, if they're going to do a 4K UHD disc, it might be up to a year before they get it out. I really don't know. Those seem to take some time. But he also announced that he plans to do the same thing for The Cell, which was
Mhm.
2000 with Jennifer Lopez. I know, Giles, I think you liked this film, but did not think it was actually weird, despite this still we're looking at.
Yeah, it's very fantastical, and I suppose working against its weird credit is it's very much framed as someone telling a story, so it anchor the fantastical, wonderful, very visually delightful, fun time, adventurous amusements that are in this movie are all grounded as a story that an older patient shoot, what's the guy's name? Pace something. Um, is telling a girl. They're both in a hospital. The young girl with a broken arm, and Lee Pace's character with more broken from a stunt gone awry. So the actual setting of the real thing going on is a fairly standard at the time. I'm guessing 1920s era West Coast hospital, and then to you know
Sort of
past.
the Princess Bride type structure.
Yeah,
An
yeah.
adult
So
telling a story to a child, and then we see the story unfold.
yeah, it's definitely something for weird movie fans because it's one of the most visually striking movies I've seen with vibrant colors and like I think what upwards of 2 dozen international, city and geographic um, major like
Okay.
metropolises of old and mountain ranges and strange natural formations. So it was it was with regret that I decided that it's just a very, very good movie, but not to be given the full write-up.
All right. Well, this one, speaking of movies you've seen and I haven't, did get a write-up, and we discussed it on last week's episode rather thoroughly, I think, with our guest Nina Martin, who had also seen it. I'll be seeing it next week as it's making its way to theaters, but why not just describe the still there?
Your thing. This is set in, I believe, an archive area with large shelves covered with all kinds of paperwork and, this, that, and the other equipment. In the foreground, we see a girl around the age of 17, I believe, who has a very apparent head injury as well as a very apparent injury to her left arm. And she is crouching up against one of the archive shelves with a look of exhaustion and dread. The individual she's hiding from is blurrily in the deep background there. We can see the form of what I know to be a woman in a long coat, boots, rather striking sunglasses, and one of those sort of hair handkerchief things. And so that individual in the blurry background is pursuing the protagonist, who is getting a breather leaning up against this shelf area.
Okay. Is it a tense scene?
It is a tense scene, and it's a tense scene put to a really, really neat piece of music, and it is all in keeping with the writer-director's mastery of sound within his movies, that it transitions from her headphones to the, full-blown, uh, clear, non-tinny grandeur of however impressive your either home video or theater going system may prove to be.
Right.
And yes, impending in this scene, it will be the entry of a character played by an actor from the first movie from this director in a much more heroic and less questionable kind of role here.
Okay. And this is, of course, Tillman
This,
Singer's Cuckoo.
yeah.
Loudly sings Cuckoo. Um, so, like I say, I haven't seen it. We'll see it next week. We talked about it a lot last week. Giles, anything you want to add?
I guess just briefly, I believe I mentioned the conflict between the producer or the distributor producer Neon and the director. That rumor-esque thing I heard was largely confirmed, at least to my satisfaction. That said, the ending is slightly more clear than some of us may like, but I still feel the movie as a whole is very much a Tillman Singer experience, which I think is an impressive thing to achieve, having only two feature films under your belt by now. So, still highly recommended, despite the clarity provided in the climax.
Um, it seems to me strange that Neon would have trouble with an ambiguous or strange ending, considering they uh, distributed Titan, but
Yeah, I haven't. I guess
uh,
the vague facts, as I was aware of them, were confirmed without receiving any details about what exactly Tillman Singer might have gone for instead. So perhaps a bit of guesswork on the part of my sources, but
was
still in
it
all.
was it perhaps though a conflict with producers rather than distributors? Because
Oh yeah, yeah, so, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, let's.
I don't want to, I really Neon is a great company, and I would
Yeah,
want to Also, they acquire films after they're complete, usually, although I suppose they could say, hey, do you have some, I don't like this ending. Did you shoot anything different?
Oh yes, I mean no knock against Neon, and in actuality, I think in some cases it can be good for directors to occasionally be reined in because sometimes they may not know best.
That's
I,
true.
but in this case, I'll have to either wait or never know.
All right. Well, so Cuckoo is recommended by Giles and highly anticipated by me and many members of our audience in the general horror category. Next up are two movies we haven't seen, neither of us have seen. I'm pretty sure Giles didn't see this. What we
I
have, we almost had a chance to see it because it debuted at Slam Dance, but for some reason, this particular film had a special embargo on it. And that was about 2 years ago, and you could watch, it was the only film that they did not provide screeners for,
Hmm.
unless they provided one for you, Giles.
Not to my knowledge. I remember
All right.
when talking about this that you certainly mentioned it. It probably caught my eye, and if it had been available, one of us would have seen it.
But we have a promotional image for it. So would you like to describe the promotional image there?
Sure, there's a kind of high-tech corridor obscured with bright lights and some dot-like star things, and standing in the middle, lined up in a row of four, is a scruffy guy on the far left, black t-shirt and sort of rock and roll metal style haircut, jeans, and I don't know, Vans or Converse sneakers. Hard to say exactly. To that, fellas, as we travel right, looking at this image, there's a gentleman in a small cap. Let me get this. There we go. That's much larger on my screen now. Leather jacket, a mesh shirt. I'm hoping it's either an A cut or a crop top, I'm sure. And that black gentleman with mustache wearing this leather jacket is holding a pair of crossed drumsticks. One more to the right as we look is a slightly shorter, much more facially angular fella who's got one of those kind of like cap things, old style, black t-shirt, long dreadlock hairs. He's holding something that is obscured by the title that's superimposed on this group. And on the far right, as we observe, is another black gentleman in a cool black leather jacket with a black collared shirt and a sort of shorter side of an afro thing going on. Nice white shoes. And we can see fairly clearly he's holding a military grade pump action shotgun. So some oh yes, and I can see now that it's bigger. The guy on the far left with the black t-shirt and scraggly metal hair, he's got a handgun of some variety. So nice combination of instruments and weaponry in with this gang of four.
And the title is also on that image,
It is. It is free LSD.
which I don't know if that means, uh, no cost LSD or let's liberate
Liberate.
LSD. But at any rate, so this is a, low budget, very punk movie. I'm going to read the synopsis from uh, the homepage of the movie, since neither of us have seen it, to give you an idea of what's going on here. Keith, an elderly sex shop owner, falls for a younger woman who visits his store looking for a gift. When their relationship turns physical, Keith's failure to perform leads him to a strange erectile dysfunction doctor who offers hope in the form of an experimental drug. The experience gives Keith much more than renewed manhood. It also provides a glimpse into a parallel universe where he is not only the lead singer of the band Off, but also the target of an advanced AI species that will stop at nothing to prevent the group from making a new album, which holds the key to an awakening of human consciousness. All right, pretty ambitious, I guess. And I will mention the band Off is a real band as far as I can tell. It is the band of the star of this movie, Keith Morris. Now, I have not heard of Math or Off, but I have heard of the bands he was in previously, which I believe were Black Flag and Circle Jerks.
Okay, yep, I've heard of those. And also, yeah, I guess Off is something of a supergroup
Yeah.
from allmusic.com. Incendiary hardcore inspired punk featuring veterans of some of Southern California's most infamous bands.
And the director is Dmitry Coates, who is also in Off and has been in several other bands that I haven't heard of. Burning Brides, Legend of the Seagull Men, and Ten Commandos. I'm sure people in the punk or hardcore punk scenes may recognize those. So he is also in this movie. I don't know if he appears in the still. I think that's him on the director, Dmitry Coates, on the far left with the handgun, and Keith
Yeah.
Morris is the older gentleman, the short gentleman with the long hair in the center, center
Okay.
right.
And yeah, it looks like there's a very nice edition of this movie coming out which includes the album Free LSD, which came out in 2022, which All Music gives 4 stars out of 5. And it looks like the preceding Off albums are all highly rated, which is something I guess to hope for with a supergroup since it's a bunch of people who know what they're doing. Uh,
Yeah, I don't like punk music. I love punks. I love everything about punks except for their music, which sucks. But so at any rate, also, have you seen the trailer, Giles?
yeah, I caught the trailer, looked very exciting, very visually fun, and cross-referencing it with the length of the movie, I'm actually pretty optimistic about this being at least exciting and quite probably weird.
Yes. One thing I wanted to point out about the trailer is that there's quite a bit of concert footage in there of the band off playing, which makes me wonder maybe how much of the movie is like a concert film with some story built around it. Based on the trailer, it seems like probably it's going to be 90% story and maybe just
Yeah,
10% band performances. Um, but I think it's clearly marketed to fans of the band and fans of the music, and maybe they're hoping to bring some other people in with the more fantastical, perhaps even surreal visuals and so forth. And with you drop the name LSD and you'll get some people who'll tune in to watch it just because of that.
yeah.
So we really don't know. The trailer is pretty eventful. Obviously, a low budget movie, not a lot of special effects money. They did do some special effects now for like they used to do LSD movies and do pretty cool effects with no money at all.
Hmm.
So uh, it can be done.
Yeah.
But that's Free LSD from the band Off. And it is in theaters, will soon be. Actually, oh boy, let me see. Do they have anything about on VOD? Oh yes, it's going to be on Apple TV.
Hmm.
Uh,
It looks
on-
like you can rent it on Amazon Prime. I could rent it right now.
oh, is it already out? Because it's
It
not.
it
Or is
appears
that? Are you looking maybe at the album?
no, this is the movie Free LSD. Rentable and purchasable through Amazon right now.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good news. Also, you can buy that DVD with the included CD from their homepage, free LSD site, which I will link in our blog post at least, but is also, if you want to just type it in, freelsdmovie.com. And so that's free LSD, which will be of interest to many viewers. And one more, a movie that we had been on our radar, debuted at a festival years ago, and then disappeared. Now is showing up on Blu-ray, and we have the Blu-ray cover here, which Giles will now describe, I think.
All right, let me get the. All right, so Blu-ray cover. All right, I'll start with the background again. There are a variety of almost entirely naked figures who have struck snazzy dance style poses with any questionable parts of their body um, very covered, obscured by pink dots of varying sizes, depending upon how far into the background the character is standing. They're all wearing strong outdoor footwear, as I believe is appropriate for this film being set on some sort of retreat in the woods as people find their this, that, or the other. Lying down in the very, very foreground is a older middle-aged fellow with a nice academic style beard, good head of charcoal gray hair, and he's reclined. I imagine he thinks enticingly across the front with a pink dot over anything that's appropriate. Standing up just behind his knee is a friendly-looking goat, which I will assure everyone does not appear to be in any danger. And in the center of the image, I'm going to guess are the main character, probably the main couple in this particular film, both fully clothed with different kinds of looks of apprehension upon them. A tall, slim woman with shoulder-length brown hair and glasses, just wearing a simple light blue collared shirt thing with looks like khaki-colored corduroy. And with a slightly more fearful look is the fella who's leaning up against her back to back with a sort of puffy vest thing, some corduroy cargo pants, mustachioed fella, also gray hair. So very much a middle-aged pair of individuals who are the focus of the image and indeed the main characters of this film.
And they are fully dressed while everyone else on the cover is nude except for shoes.
Yeah.
And even the reclining figure doesn't have shoes. The reclining figure being Jermaine Clement, who people may know. This is a New Zealand film. As I said, it debuted at a festival. I suspect Tribeca because the Blu-ray is released by Tribeca Films. And its name is
Nude Tuesday,
which refers to a fact that they go nude on Tuesdays here.
Judging from the trailer, I would be surprised if that were the only day of the week, but yes.
The description on the retailer's website, I think, is probably misleading based on the trailer, but I'm going to read it. In an effort to rekindle the spark in their troubled marriage, Laura and Bruna head to a couple's retreat run by relationship and sexual healing guru Bjorg. Plagued by miscommunication, Nude Tuesday is an utterly singular excursion into naturism and self-discovery. And the reason that I say it's misleading is because it omits what is probably the central gimmick of the film, which is that the dialogue is all gibberish, made in a completely, I wouldn't even say an invented language, because I think that they're just making it up as they go along, going, something like that. But yes, it is subtitled, so we do have all the dialogue. Uh, I'm not 100% sure whether then the actors knew what the dialogue was going to be as they.
Yeah, I guess my hope is that it might be at least a semi-formalized made-up language from the director who gave them how to act in the certain scene with the lines in question, and then was able to add the subtitles to provide a weight that might be either augment or counterpoint the gestures or looks or actions. So yeah, that gimmick looked kind of neat. As to whether if it holds for 107 minutes would be another question, but all told, this looked at least cute
Yes,
and full of nudity.
it's a comedy, yes, and middle-aged nudity too.
Mm.
It's not just good-looking people. It's not models, but sort of normal-looking people, I suppose you'd say, nude, like true nudists. Um, and it is a comedy. It is from New Zealand. It is subtitled because it's in gibberish. And we both saw the trailer, and it looks certainly cute and odd, perhaps.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Anything else to add about that, Giles?
No, I think that just about covers everything I saw. I guess there might be a little meta film going on if I remember the trailer correctly. I believe it's the guru, while still clothed, I'm guessing at the start of this retreat. We see in the subtitles the admission that the characters are speaking gibberish and that the subtitles have been provided by another individual. So that might be the only time it touches on meta narrative, but there's that awareness given away right at the beginning of the trailer. So
I think they would have to. Well, I mean, they wouldn't have to because, but audiences would be certainly confused about what language they were speaking. They were like, "What is that? This is from New Zealand. I don't recognize that language. It's not Italian. It sounds like Swedish, but
yeah, there was an instant like that in one of the Fantasia screenings, Azrael, which was almost entirely dialogue free except for one character that I am almost 100% sure was speaking a nonsense language that sounded just kind of vaguely Southwestern European. Because I had a reviewer buddy who was kind of annoyed that he didn't quite catch what was said and that there were no subtitles there, and I'm pretty sure that yes, that was whatever new language they had in that film. So
it was intentional. Okay, well, Giles and I are going to log off for the moment and be rejoined by our guest, Case Esparros of The Absence of Milk in the Mouths of the Lost. As usual, no time will pass for you, and miraculously, we will have a small break. But see you then in just a minute. Bye-bye.
Pace is pretty cool too.
Thanks.
Hello, and we're back, joined by Case Esparros. Below me, and the director, of course, of Absence of Milk in the Mouths of the Lost. The film will be mostly discussing today, but he's also made another feature film about which we know little and haven't seen, which is called King Baby. And sort of notable about that film is, even though we haven't seen it, John Waters apparently was impressed enough by it to give a little commendation or mention of it. So that's very impressive.
Yeah.
What do you have there, by the way? It's Mickey Mouse, but
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it's Mickey. We all know him. We all love him.
so that may get us taken off YouTube right there for the he's a little blurred, so hopefully.
It could be any Michael Mouse, yeah.
No, Mickey just went into public domain like this year.
Very good point.
This is a very legal thing I'm doing right now.
All right. So, okay, just out of curiosity, Case, I know you've done some shorts and two features. How old are you?
I'm 28.
Oh, you're older than I thought you were.
Yeah, I kind of have a young face. Everyone
Yeah.
thinks I'm much younger.
Okay. So you have been doing this for a while.
Hmm.
Let's see. What's a good, Giles, do you have a good place to start, or should we just have Case describe the movie as best he can?
Well, how'd you guys see it? How'd you find the movie?
That's a great question. Just doing my weekly research of Blu-rays, I just saw the cover and said, "Oh, I'm gonna have to, based on the cover, I'm gonna have to look into this." Looked into it. I
Hmm.
said, "Okay, based on the description, now I have to see the trailer." Saw the trailer and said, "Okay, based on the trailer, I have to buy the movie and review it for our weird
Oh
movie
wow.
site
Yeah,
because,
looks like everything worked out then.
yeah, it's
That's the
definitely
natural progress of things, you know.
It's definitely got weird written all over it.
Yeah.
Avant-garde, surreal. So again, Giles, do you have a question or should we just have Case do an introduction?
I think kicking off with an introduction would be appropriate for a movie that is doing the kinds of things that this film is. There is a story that, or excuse me, there's a single story that emerges from. Let's see if I look at my notes here. At least four different threads of action that eventually converge,
Hmm.
and that is not typical from my experience. But before I go rambling on about your movie, if you'd care to ramble on a little bit about your movie and what it's about in a combination of, I guess, production and narrative kind of thing, maybe just a quick little, like a trailer kind of thing, maybe.
Well, yeah, I mean, the film's called The Absence of Milk in the Mouths of the Lost. Um, it's my kind of elevator pitch a lot of the times is because I'm so like I kind of think of the imagery before anything else. So it's like trying to even like promote or like talk about the films I make is always kind of I have to have a like elevator kind of pitches in my brain to do it. But the main thing I talk about is like how I say it's kind of just like um almost kind of like a Peter Pan kind of retelling about the missing children on milk cartons, and it follows one of the mothers of one of the missing children, and you kind of see her storyline, and it follows like her grief with dealing with the missing kid, and then it follows her neighborhood milkman who has kind of a strong connection um, to her grief and maybe kind of a higher understanding of everything that's going on, and then it follows the missing children and kind of the world that they're living in, and it ties all three of their stories together.
I do have some stills and things we
Oh wow, look at
look at.
that.
That's the cover image right there. And so that actually brings to mind a question that you may be
Mhm.
interested in, which is who is that there with the milkman hat and the under the sheet with the glasses?
Oh, that's the milkman. He's played by this artist named Gary Wilson. Yeah. That was just like a behind the scene photo that was taken on set of Gary. That's
Okay,
the scene. Yeah. That's the scene, like that's a behind the scene part of the end of the movie where he walks out of the house.
Yep.
I mention
Hmm.
it because I think the presence of Gary in the film was very meaningful to you. So he was somebody you wanted. You sought out the cast, was he not?
Yeah, yeah. Gary Wilson's like so. If anyone's watching who doesn't know who Gary Wilson is, he was a '70s artist who made a record called "You Think You Really Know Me." I could probably grab it somewhere here on my shelf, but yeah, he recorded the whole record. I think he was 23 when he made the record, and he recorded the whole thing in his like parents' basement in 1977, and it kind of like went unnoticed, and he kind of stopped making music for a long time. And then in the period of that record kind of getting a cult following, he was kind of had this like missing aura, I guess, about him where no one could track him down, and he was seen as someone who had vanished off the face of the earth. And not only am I like a massive fan of the music he's making, I also thought it kind of like went in tangent like with the character and the themes of the film, that he was someone that actually kind of like had minorly went through those experiences.
There he is again.
Yeah.
Not a very good picture. Low
Yeah,
resolution.
yeah. There's Gary Wilson, and that's Hannah Weir. Mm-hmm.
And we know Hannah from Richard Bailey's movies. She's appeared in
Yes.
Oh, which one?
Ship of Human Skin.
Yeah. Ship of Human Skin. Yeah, I've never actually seen that one. Yeah, has he been on the podcast?
He has. He's been on
wow.
twice, I think.
Twice, yeah.
Whoa, wow. Small world. Yeah.
I think you two guys should get together. You'd have a lot in common in terms of the way you shoot films, I think. How long did Absence of Milk take to shoot?
I mean, maybe just from the first scene that was shot was that scene in the it's like kind of the picnic scene where the where you see kind of a woman with like a black cloak over her head, and she's kind of having a picnic with like a blacked out doll. That was kind of the first scene that was shot for the film. And then from that moment, it was probably a year and a half of shooting. Yeah, just like on and off.
So one of those shot on weekends things when you could get people in
the whole movie. Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. Yeah, it's like building, you got to kind of give it all for like every kind of little shoot, and then you kind of have to, because it's like kind of low budget filmmaking, and then you just have to break it all down again, and then kind of reassemble on a later date. Yeah, so it's like the process is kind of it's a long time for sure.
Giles.
Yep.
Yeah, that's actually, yeah. Thinking of the shooting, there are a number of interesting visual things that could be talked about, but my not quite burning question is in regards to the dilapidation of a number of the interior sets that you have. These places that look like they were lifted, over half a century ago from someplace that's been decomposing for another half century before that.
Yeah.
How did you assemble these very, moldy, broken interiors?
It took a long time. It was like, I mean, even like, even before, when I mentioned it was like took a year and a half to shoot, it was like just the location scouts alone were probably like also just a whole year of my life was like location scouting. And most of those like moldy houses and all that kind of like vintage stuff, I found most of that stuff in San Pedro, California, which is like the main thing. And the big difference between what was in the script and what was in the film was it was in a trailer park home in the script, and I was going to a lot of trailer park homes kind of, and like I like the idea of these like kind of like little neighborhoods of these like trailers, and I thought like a milkman coming around those would be pretty interesting. But I found that house. It's like the main house that you see Hannah's character Maria living in, and it was just kind of like it felt kind of perfect because there's like you could see kind of all these memories of an old house that used to live there. And I like the idea of thinking that like maybe she had a husband or maybe there was like a bigger family that was living there, but because of the events of what happened to her child going missing, like it kind of tore the house and the emotions of the house up. So I found that house in San Pedro and I fell in love with it, and then I made sure that we could shoot in it. And then I mean it's kind of behind the scene thing, but Gary Wilson's basement in that the milkman's basement is actually still shot in the same house that I'm shooting most of the stuff in.
Oh.
And then I had to find like a an exterior shot to like kind of make it not look that way. But yeah, it's just like the house was so good. There were so many things in it. And then I also just got so, I mean, that's also like such a trick with low budget filmmaking too. It's like if you can find one location that can do a lot of like what you need, that's kind of a huge key. It'll save you a lot of money and time, So yeah, that house was just incredible, and I fell in love with it. So it became like kind of the centerpiece of the film.
Yeah, no, worked nicely. I guess I'm kind of curious now when you mentioned you also that you were looking around trailer parks. So like what's the process for this? You like see a promising trailer and you like go up and knock and say, "Hey,
Yeah,
I'm a filmmaker."
it was insane.
Awkward
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, no, like that's kind of it. I'd write, I would literally write a lot of hand notes, a lot of in English and Spanish, just because you don't know what they speak, and yeah, it would just break it down and be like, I'm a filmmaker, I can pay you a little to use your location. Here's my number, contact info. I probably did that on like, I mean, originally I probably did that on probably like 70 trailers maybe. Yeah.
So there are 70 collectible notes out there from you.
Mm-hmm. And
cool.
most, I mean, most people don't get back. Like you kind of have to know that it probably won't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even tell you how many other locations I fell in love with that I was just like, man, like was just heartbreaking that I was like, I can't, like the person doesn't want anything to do with me. And I'm just kind of like a weirdo that's like, please let me like come into your house. It's like, yeah, it's kind of weird.
The mention of trailer parks made me think of this, which is actually my favorite part of the film, are this character design, to be honest.
Oh,
so these guys all live in not quite trailer park, but like RVs. These are your demons in the movie, as who are watching on YouTube can see the demons here. I just love the demons and the way they look. Very simple, very easy to achieve, but they really make a great impression. Would you like to talk about these characters a little?
Yeah, I liked the idea of these kind of anonymous, like nameless entities that they were kind of like representing. Aesthetically, they're probably, I was looking at a lot of like Jack Smith films. And then kind of like also they're like, if you've ever seen like the Twin Peaks The Return, they were kind of like influenced also by like the kind of lumberjack characters that show up in that show. But in general, also they wanted to kind of represent a kind of evil, maybe like they're responsible for the capturing of the children. They're kind of the evil that's like running the fact that happened. So I kind of wanted to like just have them not give them kind of like any kind of power. I kind of wanted them to be kind of stupid looking, just because it's like, that you don't want to give someone that kind of that power. That's like, it's like, yeah, they are evil, but it's like I kind of tried to prove that they're like pretty easy to defeat.
Yeah.
Also, just like the classic metaphor of like fighting your own demons. It was all kind of weaving together like that. And like the polka dot underwear too, it was like more like a Looney Tune kind of thing.
Right.
Just kind of oafish men was like the whole idea of them,
Yeah.
Kind of the same kind of people that would, just kind
of you can't see it in the still here, but they do they have these, right. They're all in white. They're head to toe covered in white makeup, papering over, and they're all middle-aged men or adult men.
Yeah.
And it goes right over their facial hair, just like my favorite, like a nod to Cesar Romero in Batman. And they have little horns, and they all smoke cigars and wear polka dot underwear.
Yeah. Hmm.
And these are the demons.
I just like I don't know, it's just like the old kind of like trailer park American men kind of vibe, you know.
Yeah, especially the way they move too, that sort of shambling non-rush throughout all their actions there. Wherever they're getting to, it's not terribly pressing for them.
Yeah, they're just like kind of, yeah, they're like kind of just weaving through the world, kind of, you know, like they're not. I didn't want them to really read as like terrifying,
You nailed that.
but yeah, and I don't know if you know the artist who's like a huge inspiration to the film is this artist named Henry Darger, who would make like collage work out of kind of missing children, newspaper clippings, and he would use these like children and create these worlds that they would live in where they were kind of fighting an army of kind of like kind of Civil War looking soldiers.
Ah,
Yeah, so I like I like the idea of these like girls like living in kind of like this world that they can create their own, and they have the power to have like be friends with each other, and kind of, yeah, there they are, and play, and these kind of things are just like an annoyance in that world that they just kind of have to take out. Yeah, but if you look at a lot of Henry Darder's paintings, it was pretty clear that was a huge influence on these images.
yeah. Speaking of images, there's any amount of odd imagery, even beyond the demons and general costuming. There are, I want to say, maybe four more dream interludes that I wonder if
Mm-hmm.
you feel all right talking about a little bit, since they interrupt the general action with a sort of another layer of, the general action's pretty dreamy, and then they add this explicitly
Mm-hmm.
dreamy thing every now and again, oftentimes with strange little anecdotes or confessions. Wondering if you might talk about what those dreams may indicate, and what prompted you to include them as part of this larger dream thing going on.
Yeah, you're referencing the 60 millimeter film kind of in the back, like the painted
Yeah,
film
there's the one
scenes in
that
the background.
there's a story about a dead
Hmm.
dog in one of them. There's a
Yeah.
meltwater thing going in another.
Hmm. Yeah, I liked. I mean, just in terms of just like the structure of a film, I'm always so interested in just the idea of someone like feel it kind of you're feeling that someone that's like behind the film and making the film. Um, and a lot of those interruptions are kind of things that I was going through at the time. That's their perspective of writing it. I felt like I was just like I like the idea of just interrupting a film really quick and like kind of just like discussing like your feelings and like trying to find these ways that these feelings are tying into like larger themes of a film you're seeing. A lot of those stand-ins too were kind of in my mind. I mean, it's up to any kind of interpretation, but in my mind, they felt like they were mothers of the kind of the rest of the mothers that weren't of the children. Because if you add them all up, like each scene it can correspond with a child because there's five of the missing children you see. Um, so it was just kind of like this kind of grief world that they were existing in that was almost pushed even harder than what you see Hannah's character in. She's still kind of a resemblance in reality. Um, but the rest of the characters are kind of maybe like more like fully kind of in it, and like they're just kind of it's the idea of just not existing anymore when they're mothers and they can't see their children. Um, yeah, so it's more of an abstract take on their grief.
Let's describe it a little bit more for the audience, because what happens is they struck me as more like more than dreams, like schizophrenic interludes of somebody
Mm-hmm.
having a psychosis and losing their mind. But there'll be like a
Yeah.
white room, right? And there'll be
Mm-hmm.
on the walls and ceiling are these like abstract Stan Brakhage type
Mm-hmm.
images going on, and then there's like a woman sitting there knitting with a mask on and some altered dialogue, and so how it's
Mhm.
all put together technically.
Oh, well, what you're seeing in the background is like that kind of Stan Brakhage thing. That was blood and milk paintings that I was doing on celluloid. Um, so a lot of it was my own blood mixed with some milk and then painted on the celluloid, and it was just kind of like, um, yeah, I don't, yeah, I should have brought. I have it somewhere in my drawer. You can actually see it, I think, but yeah, for a reference point, let me see if it's around. But I should have had some stuff out all ready to go. But oh yeah, here it is. One second. So see what you're seeing in the background is this. It's this.
Okay.
See, you can see all the blood on the reel.
Yeah.
And then I don't know why I'm so
That's
kind of blurred out, but yeah, see, there's blood all around the reel, mixed with star drawings that I did over it, and kind of white. It's good. The milk is kind of chipped off by this point, but it lasted enough to scan it. So what I did was put this in a scanner, and that's what you see.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, this took forever too. I would come home. I had this like totally like draped, this whole reel like draped on my chandelier on my porch, and I would just come home every day and just kind of work on it. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Did that answer your question on what the technicality of what you're looking at is?
pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we just need to know what it means or why.
It means determination, Greg.
Well, yeah, it's determination. Determination, but also, it's like, as you can see, I like the abstraction of all the details. Like there's the black lines that are kind of shooting across the screen are star drawings. And there's kind of the motif of the film, the second star on the right and straight onto morning. You hear Hannah talk about that. And that's a line from Peter Pan when they're referencing Neverland. But yeah, like that's what you're seeing, a bunch of stars, blood, and milk.
It's interesting. I didn't catch the Peter Pan references, though I see them. But I did think that do you have by any chance a background in like English literature or
Me? Well, no.
because
Wait, why?
the reason
I've
is
read it, but
because of the way you use the imagery, and it's like they teach you how to write stories the way you use imagery. So there'll be the cows, there'll be the milk, the milkman, the white color scheme, the breasts recur, all these things that are all connected and coherent as imagery. They may seem disconnected at first, but as they keep going, they all form sort of a tapestry that's a very coherent imagery tapestry, even if the story is sometimes difficult to follow. And then now you mentioned some other, the star motif and how that relates to the Peter Pan theme. And it all seems very like you've been trained in literature.
I don't know if I was trained, but I read a lot of English literature for sure. And yeah, I mean, there is that kind of weird, same thing with like English literature, especially old books with like kind of Americana aesthetics with like kind of during the milkman eras, 19 in like kind of the 60s. All of that was like kind of hugely tied to it. Yeah.
Yeah, it does actually brings up toward the beginning of your review, Greg, you mentioned the whole milkman thing, and it's kind of hard to pinpoint when this is taking place. I imagine.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
that
was pretty purposeful.
I don't remember seeing any technology to speak of
Hmm.
more advanced than maybe even that clock that you see, or the series of
Yeah.
clocks.
There's a clock at the end. Um, yeah. There's a car. Yeah, I mean, it's super purposeful for me to not. I don't want anything in the frame that could be like modern.
Mhm.
Um, I like films that feel like they're frozen in time.
It might be set in the 50s, or it might
Hmm.
uh, or it might be contemporary, or it might be, well, I guess the RVs kind of
Well, there's some kind of there's like some confusion for sure. It's like you're seeing a lot of VHS footage, um, but people didn't have that in the 50s. But I
Yeah,
like
and there,
I like
yeah,
the mix and match of all that.
and there's one universal constant. This is just a quick little aside that has to ties in with the motherhood angle and identification through children, especially growing children. Is I'm just
Hmm.
curious how many of a particular kind of mother you may have met. There's a cringingly delightful dialogue scene between Hannah Weir's character and another mother at the playground
Yeah.
who has her daughter there, and the other mother has these 6 or 7 lines which have got to be the most generically stereotypical comments to make about children growing up. And
Totally.
it was, and the full bleakness of this, I'm going to call it a comedic bit, only hit me later when it was made quite clear that this woman is talking to this other poor woman whose daughter is missing and
Right.
will not be seeing her, go to the prom or go down the aisle or blah. And so I thought
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was it felt a bit modern in its way, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, I can imagine the small talk is going to be going back decades and decades for this kind of, when you meet rando at the park there with when they're supposed to have their kids with them and they don't. So that was
Yeah, it's just like the most like mundane small talk you can have, kind of. It's like we're relating on the same level as that we're like both mothers, and that's kind of why we're both here at the park right now.
And yeah, I did actually have a question for you. You have your guy doing his score, and the score is pretty darn cool. It's got a lot of dissonance where it's supposed to, a lot of rhythmic
Mm.
tones, but you do have 2 songs that
Hmm.
you mentioned in the credits. One of them is a variant of the well, classic isn't quite the word. I can't. The standard
standard.
that
It's a yeah, yeah. It's like
I'll Fly Away.
the
And
standard.
that was done in either in an affected voice or changed in production at some point, but still very, moving and
Hmm.
emotive and appropriate for that bit. I'm curious about the thing in the beginning, which I guess I'd say is one of the most polished elements in this movie is that Raging Bull song.
Yeah.
And between the first part of this podcast and our interview here, I've been trying to look up that tune and that artist,
Mm.
and I'm wondering if you might be able to just briefly talk about him because we are getting low on time. I just wanted to know how I might find stuff by that guy.
Oh yeah. So um, the song that appears in the beginning is a song called "Raging Bull," and the artist who did that song is named Travis Miller. He's like he has he's a Richmond producer and rapper, and he's famous for his like 30 monikers online. He probably has like I don't know. He has a rap moniker, like a black metal moniker, just like he was making fake like Italian movie soundtracks for movies that didn't exist. He's just like an incredible and versatile producer. He's most famous for his moniker Little Ugly Mane. And he came out with a record called Mr. Thug Isolation in like 2012. And that's probably what he's like most known for. But he's just like so incredibly um, versatile and the Raging Bull song was off a record that he was going by the moniker Bedwetter, and it was on a volume called, or the record was called like Volume 1, Flick Your Teeth Against the Present. something like that. And the record was kind of this concept record about a child being kidnapped.
Okay, yeah, because I was going to ask how that's
Mm-hmm.
tied in there.
Yeah, and I've Travis also he got super obsessive with like the milk carton stuff, and tracking down all of that. So it was like he tracked down like a real missing milk carton, and they're like impossible to find. And I don't really know how he pulled it off, but he did find one, and it was like this whole thing. So I don't know, there's a weird connection. So when I was making the movie, I was a huge fan of his. When I was making the movie, like he was also really into these milk carton stuff. And then that song, the Raging Bull song, I kind of kept thinking of it as a way to open the film, and it felt right in this way, this kind of techno hellish kind of dance track. And you know, it just felt with all the themes of the movie, like I'm happy, there's the repeating part where it's like I'm happy. It's like all these mothers are like trying to be happy. And and it's just like, also just it's also speaking about the industry of the dairy, of the dairy industry. It's like I forgot the line in the song, but it's like they talk about it talks about industry, and I'll be your raging bull. Yeah, and just like with all the cows and all that. Yeah, I just thought it was just super electric.
Oh God, yeah, no, it was it immediately caught my ear right at the start, so that was an excellent inclusion there.
Yeah.
Something, since we're running a little low on time, there's something I would like to sort of impress on people that we did when I reviewed this. I did give it a weirdest tag, which is very important to a lot of the readers to seek out anything that says weirdest on it, and it is very weird. There are in it things like a live cow birth that they caught, and that Case caught. And we've discussed sort of the very abstract scenes. There are scenes with a woman who has 2 bags of milk taped over her breast like they were her breasts, who then punctures them with knives. And so there is a lot of stuff in there that seems like it would be kind of shocking, but this is really not a shocking movie. It's really a very tender movie about, parental love. Was that the tone you were going for? It's praised by John Waters, but other than the budget, it's not like a John Waters movie that much.
Yeah, I mean, John's definitely like a big hero of mine, but I don't think I was like looking at him as like, I just, he's the king of like that stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's not, I don't know, I'm not trying to be shocking. I'm not like, this is shocking. I want to make a film like that feels like it has a good heart, and like my heart's in it. And I'm more interested in characters who love each other and relationships like that. And I'm not trying to like give a film, a poor ending, or I don't want to torture anyone. It's almost like my film's like set up with that. It's like, it's already like the world is so bleak, and it's like, but it's like, I want to show everyone trying to persevere through that, yeah, I'm not into, I mean, I guess I am in some filmmakers, but it's like, it's not like a Lars von Trier thing. I'm not trying to like torture anyone like on screen,
I did just want to make sure that viewers, understood that when they're going in. So some people won't want to see a shocking film. Some people do. It gives you a little bit of both. But Giles, the final question, if you would.
Sure thing. We like to wrap up every 366 Weird Movies interview with this question for the filmmaker. What's your hometown, and can you recommend a restaurant there?
Well, right now I'm living in Los Angeles, California, and the restaurant I would recommend is this restaurant in Echo Park called Gra. My twin brother is like the main chef there, and he's great. He's just like, yeah. So go to Gra, hit it up. He's gonna cook you a really good pizza. Gra.
Gra.
Yeah, go to Gra in Echo Park. I try to go there because he feeds me good. But like, just go there. Like, he'll cook you like a good pizza. It's like incredible, like Italian food, great wine. Yeah, that's the spot for sure.
Okay, fantastic. And we're almost out of time, so I'd like to thank Case Esparros for being here.
Yeah, that's cool.
Giles,
Yeah,
we're gonna sign off.
Yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for watching the movie.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Okay, bye-bye, everybody.